Hi everyone, I'm Jasmine Daly, Principal Consultant and Founder of Daly Analytics. Today I'm going to walk you all through building a card game in Shiny with Claude Code and a little bit about what that taught me about working with an AI agent as a development partner and really how to make the most of it and your experience with using these tools. So a quick crash course on the game if you're not familiar. Setback is also known as pitch. You can play it with a number of different players. In this example, I'm using two teams, two people on each. 6 cards are dealt out, and so there's different tricks per hands. At the beginning, you make a bid, and if you win your bid, you get to start and choose the suit. But if you do not make your bid, you get set back and you can actually get negative points. First to 11 wins. It's really a game about reading your partner's signal, often the person sitting directly across from you, knowing when to lead, knowing when to follow them, if they've made the higher bid, trying to keep cards away from the other team and their players, and trying to get an understanding of what's out at play. And how to win all those points. And really, it's about partnership. And so if it sounds familiar, I find it really resonates really well with what it's like to build with an AI tool. And I actually learned from a little bit of background, I learned Setback this fall with some friends, and I was not very good. I was bad. Times that I were good, it was random. And this game is really not like solitaire. You really need to have people to practice with. And so I built this Shiny app with the intention that I would get better and that I would eventually become good and beat some friends. I use Claude Code to sort of bring this game from the dining table to the browser. It's an R Shiny app. There's 3 AI opponents and yourself playing in that that role. You've got these really interesting characters. I do not have an Uncle Earl, an Auntie Dee, or a Cousin Ray, but I think it was just really interesting to sort of get those kind of dynamics and just make this super fun, and to make it feel like you might be playing with folks, and how people like to sort of psych you out, to make you feel like you don't have a good hand and they have a better hand. In addition to this, I really spent a lot of time thinking really deeply before engaging with Claude Code to build this out. Thinking a lot about what the tech stack would be, how I wanted the game to feel, how I wanted to interact, how I would use sort of some skills that I've gained that I've seen other people that are really good at this game, and try and figure out how to infuse that so that I could use this tool to get better at the game and what that might look like from a technical perspective as well. So we'll do a little bit of a demo. So I'm playing this hand. This will be just 2 rounds. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, I don't know if I win anything, much like how I play in real life. So we'll see. It goes round robin. Folks are dealt their cards. You get to bid. You can see how the different the AI players are sort of egging you on, and your partner sitting across from you, Auntie Dee, is always your support, which is really lovely and sort of building up the confidence and the sort of the psychology aspect of this game. I really like you also have a running game log. That's something that's really, I find challenging in card games, is to understand what's at play, who's played what's not on the board anymore, to help give you some of the strategic insights to play really effectively and be a really good partner. So this is sort of a preview, kind of has that feel of that old sort of game feeling with this green table, and just sort of this really minimal UI. But there's probably tons of things I can fix on this, but I had a really, really lovely time, and I will be using this. I've found myself using it already, and just actually yelling at the screen, which is super fun. So we go. And you can just keep playing hands and hands until somebody wins. So at this junction, the opponent's got 4 points because they bid 4 and they won. So In Setback, the high card, that's like the best card out on the table. Often it's an ace, you hope it's an ace, goes to whoever wins. Often that person that throws it down usually has it. But if you're also throwing aces down from other suits, like a lot of things can get stolen at the end, and then as you're adding things up, you figure out who wins. But really similar, I think, in AI collaboration, some of the highs can really be when AI really nails something that you've helped provide really good instructions on. And to see that output manifest in your code and that shiny app is really gratifying. It's super interesting. But it really comes because you have spent, and that's what I do. I spend a lot of time really deeply thinking before I engage with AI coding assistants, thinking about the project structure, thinking about the tech stack, leveraging plan mode, which is this really lovely aspect of interactive Q&A before Claude Code even starts on the project. So I find it to be really helpful to get as many of these high cards, as many of these high moments, to have a lot of good amount of planning and conversation with myself, and really get at like what I'm building and why I'm building, and then the execution after that becomes wicked fast. And so once that spec is sort of clear and you've sort of provided lots of prompts and that interactive Q&A, the build was almost instant. I think the entirety of initial prompting after spending all that deep time to like the first commit was maybe about an hour, which is really fantastic, going through all these different phases of the project and the game state and the scoring, and having Claude Code help write a significant amount of unit tests, and then going from more how you play the game to how you strategically become a very excellent player, and sort of making a little bit of tweaks on the UI. And there's a lot of different phases, but the initial aspect and that fast execution is really fantastic and really useful to sort of see. And it all lives right in this R package with several files, and they really all played really well when I first kicked off the application. So the low, sort of recapping like how this game is really played, the lowest card in play goes to somebody who kind of wins that round. Often it's 2, but if that card hadn't been dealt out, it could be a 3. And so you're never really quite sure, like, what's the low? What should I play at this junction? I see what the other people are doing. And so in AI collaboration and using agentic development, there are definitely low points when Claude Code comes up with absolutely nonsense, or comes up with code that looks really right, test passed, but something just fundamentally isn't broken. And a lot of that, for me, was really visible as I was playing the game in between doing the iterative development and seeing, hey, it didn't let me select that card, or hey, there's a bug, like the entire game state got rewritten in some odd way that's not really perceivable on the actual code, but really makes a lot of sense when you start playing something as visual as this game, and when you have that deep domain knowledge of what it should be and what it's like, even for somebody like me that's not like stellar at Setback. And so going through lots of different bugs and mitigating was really fun and a really great aspect of course correcting Claude Code in this process. So another aspect sort of I brought from real life to wanted to have this as a really important feature is that like at the end of a round, everybody is counting cards, and they have like all these kind of like unique like point components. And I told Claude, I admitted, I'm honest, I was not very good at counting up cards. I'm not good at counting up during a game, which you're not supposed to count cards. And so really helping to sort of bring like a problem that I had, what I wanted to see reflected in the Shiny app. And it was really great to see that sort of being implemented super fast, because I had this really deep amount of failure to pull from of like, hey, I know exactly what my problem is. I know what I want to see it. I know how I can improve as both a developer and a Setback player. And it was just like the magic of providing that good context of your problem. It was just really great to see that in the deliverable. And so this is another aspect of sort of really infusing more than how the game is played, but a strategy and a concept. There was a round that I was playing initially, and I saw my teammate doling out tens as if they were like not valuable at all. When you're playing in this sort of partnership, and you start to see how the rounds are going between each, you can sort of see like, hey, like players should actually start protecting their tens. At the end, when everybody's counting up cards, they're actually worth 10 points. So they're super important. If there's an opportunity where you can save that to either play it and you know that you're going to win that hand, or feed it to your partner so they win and your combined points are added together, like that was something that I learned from other people that I play with, that is somewhat of an aspect of infusing strategy. And Claude Code, I think, did a really great job of like understanding, once again, that definition of that problem, what I've seen played in the real life, how I was able to describe it. And it was just like really interesting and satisfying to sort of see that strategy piece become a part of this game and the way that I am hoping to get better at Setback. So game, right? At the end, everybody counts everything up. You see who's out ahead, who's won, who's either made their bed or who got kind of set back. And folks can either get the accumulation of all of these points, or they can do a portion of it. And so I think thinking about this in sort of the full total picture of building this all out with Claude Code and using AI, and there's so many different components that go into getting that beautiful game at the end. The strategy, the implementation, the testing, the user interface and experience, and some of the results and what you're actually tangibly getting from that, which for me, I'm not just getting a shiny app, I'm getting really good. I'm going to be able to beat a lot of people after I start playing and practicing more, and I'm very excited about that. So, and sort of knowing when you are getting set back and knowing sort of the state of the counting up as you're playing is just a really interesting aspect too of Setback. And very often, right, you'll have sometimes compounding bugs, and you'll have to interface with the actual app to debug it. And this is really where I started to be like, hey, I'm actually developing this all on my own, solo. There could be a lot of debt. I've noticed this in, other like less, specific projects, client projects, where it would be really great sometimes to have like a colleague. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't have folks that I work with. And often I'm trying to think about like, how can I make this developer experience like better? And so in addition to building out this Setback shiny app with Claude Code, I also thought really deeply about how could I have a conversation with Claude? How could Claude go in between my iterative development and help me get better, help me understand the decisions that were made, why they were made, potentially catch errors that shouldn't be committed to the code. And so thinking really deeply about the tech stack, like this idea for a new R package came to mind, calling it Counselor. It's voice-powered pre-commit hook. And so it is a package, you download it, you have a couple lines to sort of get installed with commit. It helps you sort of figure out which API keys that you need and where to store them at. And so at every different junction for a commit, Claude writes really great commit messages, but like if you are not learning from it, I feel very deeply that you are just kind of like just accepting all those changes without growing as a developer. And for me personally, like I want to grow, I want to understand, I want to have a hand on the wheel, I want to be in and on this human loop of interacting with Claude to make my life more efficient, to get me to win Setback, right? And so I built this package. I'll have a little demo of it. It uses DeepGram, Cartesia, which are components of the PipeCat framework for using conversational multimodal AI. So a little bit here.
Was changed with most of the UI improvements. You fixed a typo change in Claude to the suit, added CSS styling for a Claude suit indicator, and improved the trick result explanations with suit symbols. I did flag one possible concern. There's what looks like a hard-coded credential detected. Though scanning the diff, I don't see any obvious API keys or passwords. This might be a false positive from the word Claude appearing in the code. The changes look reasonable overall, just UI polish and better game messaging. Would you like me to explain any specific part, or are you comfortable proceeding with the commit?
Can you explain why that original status message was not showing the right suit? It's listening, it's thinking, it's taking a really wide window to capture my voice and translate it to text and then to respond back. Visually our output from Counselor, but Counselor's going to also have a nice conversation with us soon too.
Looking at the code, that status message said play a card to set Claude, but Claude is just the internal variable name for the trump suit in your Setback game. From a player's perspective, that's confusing messaging. They don't know what Claude means. They just know they won the bid and need to choose which suit will be trump for this hand. The fix to play a card to set the suit is much clearer user-facing language. It tells the player exactly what they're doing. The first card they play will determine the trump suit for the round. So this was a UI clarity fix, not a functional bug. The game logic was working fine, but the messaging was using internal terminology instead of player-friendly language.
Fantastic. Perfect. And that last message was that I approve that commit, and then it went through and was able to commit. And so I have really found a lot of really exciting use cases for Counselor, not just building out Setback the game. And so I'm personally trying to explore how to leverage Counselor in more of my projects to get more of that human aspect and conversational voice AI mixed in with the agentic development. And I'm so excited to share it with you all. These are the links that you can find, both the Shiny app for Setback and then Counselor, the R package. Very open to feedback, notes, PRs. I'm so excited. I'm very happy I can take questions. Thank you very much. And you can also find me on dailyanalytics.com.